Nou goed, ons gesels vanoggend met Dr. Mary Shuttleworth wat dan nou telefonies by ons aansluit en dit omdat ons graag wil hoor van die ongelooflike werk wat sy in die gemeenskap doen. So good morning and welcome from my side as well.
Good morning, goeiemôre. Wonderful to be chatting with you.
En Mary is dan nou ook die stigter van Youthful Human Rights International. So we'll get to human rights in a couple of minutes, but I would like to start with your background, both locally and international.
Okay. Well, I was born in Bloemfontein, South Africa, and I went to a school boarding school in Zastron. So I've been around. We then moved to Los Angeles, and I continued my studies to get a doctorate in education because I believe that education is so important. And so the whole program that we're going to be discussing in a few minutes is all about education, education, education.
Mm-hmm. And why did you feel that there's a need to create something like Youthful Human Rights International?
Because, I had the privilege at the age of 15 to travel to Europe and study for a couple of years. And when I was in South Africa, of course, I saw discrimination during the apartheid era, but it was really shocked me when I got to Europe and I was studying there that I saw discrimination. And I thought to myself, discrimination is a global issue. It covers all sorts of issues. I call them the two issues, TOO. Too tall, too short, too smart, too rich, too poor, everything to do with two. And so I wanted to create a program that is universal and that says, we are all different. We need to respect each other's differences, but at least we need to respect on common ground at least these 30 basic universal human rights. That's the point that brings us together, where we can agree, and from there, then we can figure everything else out.
And it is still a global challenge, but if you compare, if you think back to those years and you think about today, can you compare, the level or the amount of discrimination, that we are still facing today?
Yes, absolutely. We still globally have huge human rights discrimination issues. But I am so excited because we've made huge inroads. I'm a little old lady, a grandmother, and as women, just if you just think in terms of women, we are able to vote. We are in all sorts of government positions. We are decision makers. We are business makers. We are homemakers. Just as women, we've increased our abilities to be included and be part of society in a much bigger way than we used to be. So even if we just take all women in the world, there are even female women Nobel Peace Laureates who have done amazing work in their communities. So, I'm very encouraged. I know for a fact that we haven't made it yet, and so on. But there's a lot more work to do. But we've made huge inroads. So I'm very positive about the changes.
How long do you think is it going to take for us to get to a level where there's a certain kind of balance?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to take a whole lot. Why? Because I deal with education, and I believe that education moves quickly. We just have to do it, and the more we sensitize, the more we educate, the more the media like you speaks out in a positive note about, human rights are very simple, and it's just these few things that we need to respect, and then we get on with our lives, with our lifestyles, and so on. I actually am very encouraging because the work that we've been doing, which we haven't yet touched on, we've moved and spread so fast. It's incredible to see how quickly education moves, and as long as we just do it.
We've referred to the fact that it's still a global challenge. Are there certain countries that you can refer to in terms of who is facing the biggest challenge at this stage?
Yes. Well, I honestly, personally, I've traveled 17 times around the world, literally circling the globe, and I've traveled to 93 countries myself. I must tell you honestly that in every single country, there are issues. In every single country. They look different. The approach to them is different. They may be more violent than others, actually claiming lives. But I don't know of a single country in the world that, unfortunately, that is perfect on the issue of complete tolerance, and respect. I know that, for example, Sweden boasts to have a very high respect rate, but they have issues as well. So, and where's the worst? I can talk, for example, the last world tour I did last year, I went, 2 years ago, was to the Gambia in Africa. Well, they just come out of 30 years of civil war, and it's really difficult to visit those countries, very, very difficult, because the people are broken. Many kids under the age of 30 have not ever been to school because they literally grew up during their whole lives in civil war. And civil war is ugly, it's really ugly. It's neighbor on neighbor. It's really ugly. So if I have to say which countries, I would say the countries that in present time, like the Gambia, are either coming out of civil war or are in presently in actual strife.
Mm-hmm. But on a global level, I mean, is there one main solution? What needs to happen for this to be turned around?
Well, you're talking to an educator, so what I'm going to tell you is education, education, education. And I laugh as I say that because I'm like a broken record on the issue. What we need? It's really to build respect. We really need to sensitize people. Let's focus on what we can agree on, and then from there, let's figure out the few things or the many things that we don't agree on. But it's really respect of common things. And I can really tell you, for all my experience, most people just want to live in peace. Most people just want to have their families. Most people just want to work hard and do what they can for their children to make their children have a better life than they had, whatever level that was. But everybody wants their kids to have a little bit better, have a little bit more. These are so common. These are such common traits, So I think that it's really what can we do? It's really just stand back for a minute and say, is there something that I can respect here? And let's start with that. It's like even within a family, within a community, let's see what are what often we call them rules. What are the things we come together on, and then from there we can say, okay, now we are going to definitely have differences. Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to question Mary, it's Jornay here, other presenter. Something like the COVID-19, it's as if, especially in South Africa now, it's a diseases or chaos like this is a spotlight where people are still the difference, the gap between poor and rich. It shows it so much. Do you agree with me? Even worldwide, if you see how the Americans help their people, Italians, then we get here, people don't even have water. It's like a wake-up call. What's your view on the whole virus?
Oh, it's really tragedy. It's really tragic. And yes, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for us on many fronts, actually. And it really does highlight and bring to the fore, I think, in many ways we get on with our lives and we tend to ignore or not be as aware of some situations. And I think this is just pulling it to the front, saying, hey, let's look at this and let's solve this. Let's solve this. We can figure it out as a people and as people globally.
You've referred to education a little bit earlier, and I think that's one of the most important things, to educate people a little bit more, because I think there is a lot of people that's a bit, uneducated and uninformed. So when you take a look at the role of international summits, what would you say about that?
What are you talking about? International summits? Are you talking about our Youth for Human Rights International Summit or conferences in general?
Well, conferences in general, but also this International Youth Summit. I mean, to involve, to get the youth also more involved and the type of things that are discussed there.
Oh, now you've totally touched on a passion of mine. I love the youth. I'm so excited about the youth. It's so amazing when you have these, once a year we do these international summits at the United Nations, and we bring youth from around the world together. They've never met each other. They all work with us, but they personally never met each other. And it's amazing to see how interested they are in each other, learning from each other's experiences. Everybody who comes to our international summits, they are all volunteers working in their communities, using education, using human rights education to see how they can, improve their environment. And the stories are incredibly heartwarming. It's amazing how people change when they just realize, that's not a human right, that's a lifestyle. Oh, that's a human right. And yes, I want that respected. And I think the most important thing that really stands out to me in that is, with the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, that's the document we teach, there's this one article, Article 29. And the article is that one word we mostly don't want to hear about. But it's a human right. It's called responsibility. And when these kids, these youth, when I talk about youth, I'm talking about 18 to 29 years old. So mostly they're university students. They're new in their careers. They're newly starting up their practices as lawyers and so on.
Yes.
And it's amazing to see how they embrace responsibility and become more and more responsible as they see what kind of an impact they can do in their communities simply by teaching. Sharing information.
Yes, Mary, I'm going to have to stop you there, but thank you so much. You're such an inspiration, and good luck with all the work that you do in the future.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing in the media, promoting respect and human rights.
Dit was dan Dr. Mary Shuttleworth.